So often it's been called Pennsylvania's reassessment mess. Now there is new legislation in Harrisburg hoping to change things. Hi, I'm Tonya Caruso. Welcome to Comcast Newsmakers. And with us right now is State Representative Jesse White. Thank you for joining us.
Always a pleasure to be here.
You have been among folks working on this issue for the past 5 years. So let's talk about this new legislation and what it means and does.
Sure. Well, I want to be clear. We always talk about, oh, I've introduced a bill and maybe it'll become law, maybe it won't. This is law. This is a law that has actually been signed by Governor Corbett. It's Act 2 of 2013. So this isn't about what it might do. We're able to now finally talk about what we will be able to do to finally address some of the problems with the reassessment process.
Okay, and so what will this address?
Well, what we're going to do is we've decided to take an approach of looking at reassessment and kind of what's wrong with it, in terms of why is it was originally designed to be kind of a statistical readjustment, but instead it's turned into this kind of weapon that's been able to been used to increase property taxes. And it was never designed to be that way. So what we wanted to do was bring it back to what it was originally intended to be, so it's not so politically volatile for communities to be dealing with. So what we did was we looked at some of what really you would think was boring stuff. It's the math. We learned, as we really dug into this over the last couple of years, we learned that a lot of the coding, a lot of the comparisons, a lot of the processes being used were very unequal. And when you have a very unequal equation, you get a very wrong result. So the experts very quickly told us that our current reassessment process is what they called garbage in, garbage out, and that's why we had all these different problems.
So this begins to standardize things.
Absolutely.
Beginning with what? Sort of a guideline or a rule book?
Right. There's several things that we're doing. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to give some counties the guidance they need when it's time to do a reassessment. So when it comes time, they actually know what the blueprint looks like. And that's really important because when you're really hiring a company to come in and do this, and if you don't know what standards to be holding them to, it's very hard to be able to know if they're even obeying what they're supposed to be doing. So we have a rule book being implemented. We have standardization for the coding. The way it works right now is the way properties are coded in one county isn't the same as in another. So you have 67 different sets of data that are not compatible with one another. Reassessment is a comparative process. So if you can't compare things to one another, there's no way it could be accurate. So what we're going to do for the first time ever is have a real-time database of statewide transactions of real estate that will be compatible 100%, so we can see what these trends are and we'll be able to know when it's time to reassess and how to do it.
And so where does this leave? We've always heard this difference of base years, and some counties use base years still from 1969. In Allegheny County, there's still a fight over which base year should be used. What does this do to address that problem, or does that come next?
That comes next. And the nice thing about this is it was very hard, we realized, to make the bigger changes down the road because we didn't have the data in front of us to know what that solution should be. There are things in Pennsylvania's Constitution, like the Uniformity Clause, that makes us different than other states, so we can't just copy what another state has done. So we have to kind of come up with our own approach here. And the thought is, as we go through this new system, and counties are reassessing with it, and we're able to control those loopholes so there aren't the big property tax increases, we will be able to see a pattern that will show us what the next step will look like. But hopefully by then, reassessments won't be this volatile issue, and we'll be able to move forward with those further reforms in a much more comprehensive and easy way.
What role do school districts play in this, and any mention in this specific legislation?
Well, it applies to all taxing entities, which would be school districts, municipalities, and counties, but school districts are typically the big ones because that's where in Pennsylvania most of the tax revenue comes from. And I think the role of school districts here is they've got to be willing partners. Unfortunately, in Allegheny and specifically in Washington, they're the ones driving the lawsuits to raise taxes. They need to work with us to keep taxes low.
Well, so much more to talk about on this issue. State Representative Jesse White, thank you for your time. I'm Tonya Caruso. Thanks for watching Comcast Newsmakers. We'll see you next time.